Hi, the title of this podcast is I don't want me to be in the way of me enjoying life. What I've found has really been the opposite of that for most of my life. And what I mean by that is whatever situation that I'm in, almost all the time, if I'm not enjoying that situation, there are a few exceptions. The responsible party is almost always me. Take, you know, growing up in my household, which was many years of abuse with my stepfather, who was on his own journey. And while the abuse is certainly, I'm not responsible for that. But when I'm out of the home and I'm at school or with my friends, or I'm doing something that's fun that I enjoy, like sports or reading, and my stepfather's nowhere to be near, then what's spoiling those moments? My mind is by ruminating about what happened or being anxious about what might happen. Now, I guess it's okay to say that, well, you're young. You didn't know any different then. You hadn't been, introduced to working on yourself in this way. No, I hadn't. Up until that point, working on myself was trying to do the best I could in school and in sports and being a kind person, which is very uh, noble. But as I got older and I moved out of that environment at 18, I went on to other places. And one of the places I went was Yuma, Arizona, when I served in the military. Now, my stepfather's nowhere to be seen there. And because Yuma wasn't the place that I wanted to be stationed, I made it a problem. So I was in the way of finding the gems that were all around Yuma. I had a buddy who discovered him. He came from a different part of the country, very different. Rhode Island can be as different as Tennessee from Yuma, Arizona. But he wasn't in the way of enjoying life, of having deep relationships while he was in the military. But I was. I was in the way. I have gone on to other experiences, in my lifetime, and I've done the same thing. My complaining was in the way of me appreciating some amazing places. Let's go with the vacations. With the vacations that I've had during the ski season, you couldn't ask for better places. In the distance is a beautiful lake. It's beautiful snow on the ground. I would find something to complain about. I would complain about the lift lines being too long. I'd be worried about whether there would be powder the next day. And then once the ski trip was over and it was our last night in that town, I would be anxious about the flight home. Not anxious, but obsessive thinking about the flight home, of whether or not we make the flight at the flight that we're going to connect with, if it was going to arrive on time or whether it was going to delay it. Just you name it. I made everything a problem. And so I was in the way of me enjoying life. The same thing with relationships, having these expectations of people to show up to the way that Keith thinks they should show up. So what did that do? It prevented me from experiencing them just the way that they were. That was me. They didn't do that. I did that. And so what would life be like if I wasn't in the way of me enjoying it? It would be very different. It would actually be like it is now, because I've worked on myself in such a way that I'm rarely in the way of me enjoying the present moment, the people in it, or anything else. I remember years ago when I was so identified with my political ideology that if I talked to someone or was around someone who expressed a different view, whether it was a hat that they wore, a t-shirt, a bumper sticker, or just talking about their political leanings, I would automatically start judging and I couldn't be around that person. They were just talking. They were just being self-expressed. I was ruining that moment, not them. I was doing that. I walk into a restaurant with people and I have the opportunity to connect with them and have great conversation. But then I'll start complaining about the lighting not being bright enough or being too bright, about the temperature not being just right for me to be comfortable. They're not doing that. I'm doing that. Riding on a road trip somewhere and I am in the back seat and the seat isn't up far enough because someone else in the front seat is tall and I'm complaining about that. I'm ruining that road trip. No one else is ruining that. Now, there is the uncomfort or discomfort of being, 6 feet tall and being in the back seat. So that's one thing. But the suffering comes with me complaining about it internally. So I'm doing that. So I invite everyone to just ask the question, my experience of life, my experience of people, my job, the country, who's ruining that? Is it things outside of your control? Or is it you? Is that inner voice that needs everything to be a certain way for you to be okay inside? And what I've done is come to the realization that that's a losing game. I gave that up 7 years ago, not going back. So now I work on myself in such a way that I'm no longer in the way of me enjoying life, period. It's amazing how the people that I work with that I would have had a problem with some of their choices, their decisions, their management and leadership style. And then once I accepted it, something magical happened. I like being around them. I like their leadership styles because I got in the way of requiring their leadership to be a certain way. And I would just work with it. And when I say work with it, not directly with them, I work with me and my resistance to being open to a different leadership style. So everything that shows up in life is an opportunity for practice. It's an opportunity for practice. So for those people that have jobs that can be challenging, say, for example, you're on call. There's only one person who is directly responsible for running a call experience. Point back at yourself. You. Call can be whatever you make it. You can make it the best call I've ever had on no sleep or the best call I've had on 8 hours of sleep. But you have the choice of what kind of call you experience. And so I've just really worked on myself to make it a default experience of having a great experience with people, with life situations, learning from them and growing from them, the whole time trying to maintain being peaceful. So ask yourself, or put this question to yourself: are you in the way of experiencing the best that life has to offer in the form of people and situations?